Everyone, Bill McCormick here from DigiSales, where all selling is social, to talk to you today about LinkedIn for small business owners and entrepreneurs. And the real question of should you be on LinkedIn? And the answer to that question is really it depends. It really depends on your level of involvement, has to do with whether your clients are on LinkedIn, who you interact with and engage with, whether they're on LinkedIn. We're going to look at that in a moment, but I just want to let you know that, you know, I think that all entrepreneurs should have a presence on LinkedIn. But should you be spending your valuable time on the platform? I get it. I understand as a small business owner myself, and as an entrepreneur myself, you wear many different hats. And your level of involvement on the platform is going to take away from other things you should be doing. And so you have to figure out whether there's a return on that, right? So should you be on the platform? Should you be posting content? Should you scroll and scroll and scroll looking for quote unquote opportunities? These are the questions I get from small business owners and entrepreneurs all the time. And so, having had those questions come to me so much, I developed these three levels of LinkedIn involvement that I want to go over. But before we do that, what we're going to do is jump in and just talk about why LinkedIn is important, some real important stats that I think you need to know. And then we'll go through the three levels. And then after that, I'm going to give you some really solid profile tips that can help you right away. Like you can finish this recording, go right over to your LinkedIn profile, make some really solid changes to your profile that I think will help you. So let's talk about why LinkedIn. And here are some real important stats for you. Over 1 billion users on LinkedIn. Most professionals now today are on the platform. There's over 67 million company pages on LinkedIn. Companies are using their LinkedIn page to market themselves and their companies, and their employees are attached to those pages. And then these next few stats are really important. Microsoft purchased LinkedIn in 2016 for $26.2 billion. That is a lot of money. And they did that because they saw potential in the platform, and that investment is paid off. In 2024, LinkedIn's revenue was around 16, is just over $16 billion. And as they're tabulating, we're in February 2026 now, so they're still figuring out the revenue for 2025, but they're projecting it to be just over 18 billion. Right. So that's for 2025. That's a $2 billion increase in a year. But look at that next stat. In 2020, their revenue was just over 8 billion. So that's a $10 billion increase in just 5 years, right? So it is growing. It is making money for Microsoft. So guess what? It's not going to go anywhere. If you've heard people, oh, LinkedIn's dying, listen, LinkedIn's not going to die. It's not going to go anywhere. So it's a place to be. But the question is, why should you be on LinkedIn? Because LinkedIn isn't just just one site or just one platform, and that's important to realize. LinkedIn is many different platforms. All right. It's a job seeking and recruiting and hiring platform. In fact, that's how LinkedIn got its start. In I believe it was 2006, Reid Hoffman in his garage, he decided he was going to find a place where recruiters and companies could link in together to find candidates for jobs. And so it became heavily used for that. But then it expanded. And now it's become not only those things, but also a marketing platform where companies as well as people can brand themselves. Your profile is a place for you to brand yourself. It can also be used for business development and sales, as well as networking. I look at LinkedIn as a 1 billion person networking room that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you'll notice personal branding, business development, sales, and networking are all in bold because that's where we're going to focus. That's where I help people the most. I don't help people much with the job seeking, recruiting, and hiring. And I do a little bit with marketing for companies. But what I want to do is talk to you about you. So, as I stated, there are three levels of LinkedIn use. These are not hard and fast rules or categories. Every business and person is unique, and you have to decide if the platform is worth your effort. And believe me, I can help you with that, and there'll be an offer for that at the end. But what I found as I've coached entrepreneurs and small business owners all around the world is that there are basically three levels of LinkedIn use for SMB owners and entrepreneurs. And the first one is that your clients are on LinkedIn. You're in the B2B space and your clients are there. And if that's the truth, then there's some things you should be doing. You should have your profile optimized to resonate with those clients. Again, not saying how great you are because nobody cares, but talk about the value that you're providing your clients. You should connect with those clients and prospects, and you have to do that in the right way. All of us have in mailboxes on LinkedIn or connection requests on LinkedIn that are trying to pitch us and are trying to sell us, and you're like, man, why? I don't need this stuff, right? You need to do that in the right way. You need to connect the right way. You should be posting content, and that content should be educational. It should be thought leadership content that shows you as a credible source and someone who can be trusted. And you should be leveraging LinkedIn to initiate the connection and then move it from the digital space to the face to face. Now, I did those four things in like under a minute, but I actually spend weeks and hours training individuals as well as sales teams how to do those four things. But this is the important thing to answer. If your clients are on LinkedIn, these are the things you should be doing. But what if you say, well, I don't know, Bill, my clients aren't on LinkedIn, but maybe your referral partners are. So you're maybe you sell B2B, but your customers are maybe in a retail space, right? Or they own a restaurant, or they're in the food service space, right? They typically aren't on LinkedIn that much, or they're not active. But you know what? The other people that do business with them are, right? So think about the people who refer business to you, the people that will refer a client to you, say, hey, you should talk to so and so, they need your service. If those people are on LinkedIn, then it's going to change a little bit for those four things that I told you should do if your clients are on LinkedIn. You should definitely have your profile optimized and it should resonate with your referral partners. And you should be connecting with those referral partners. And then notice from it, we go from you should to you can and you may. You can have educational thought leadership content that shows you is credible. That's important because your referral partners need to know that you know what you're talking about. But then the next one is you may leverage LinkedIn to initiate connection and move from the digital space to the face to face. I find most people, most business owners, small business owners, entrepreneurs that have referral partners are in referral groups. And so it really depends on what level you engage and interact with those referral partners. And LinkedIn can be one of those other places where you do that. So you notice the first two things are you should. Those are things I believe you should do: profile optimization, connecting with your referral partners. And then you can do the content and you may, do that conversation part where you move from the digital space to the face to face. But what if you're thinking, you're going, well, geez, Bill, no, not only are my clients not on LinkedIn, but yeah, no, my referral partners aren't on LinkedIn too either. Right. So if neither of them are on LinkedIn, well, then you should have your profile optimized. You notice we only have one should here. You should have your profile optimized to resonate with those who may research you, because some people are going to look you up. They're going to naturally do that. And whether you know it or not, when somebody Googles your name, if you have a LinkedIn profile, that's one of the first three results that return back on Google. And so they're going to go look at that. And we have to ask, what are they seeing? It should be a professional, value-centric profile. And you should update your profile when it's necessary. Check to make sure it's relevant and up to date. What I find with most professionals is they use LinkedIn to get a job and then they never change their profile, and it doesn't represent who they truly are. Notice I'm not telling you to post content. I'm not telling you to connect with people. I'm not telling you to try to move from the digital space to the face-to-face to have conversations. Why? Because the people aren't there. So why waste your time doing that? Okay, so those are the three levels of LinkedIn use, and hopefully that's enough information that you can kind of, hey, yeah, okay, I think I can figure this out for myself. But notice that there was one constant through all three. You should have your profile optimized. You should have your profile optimized. You should have your profile optimized, right? So let's talk about what that looks like. Uh, you know, Bob Burg in his book Endless Referral says all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. So LinkedIn can be a place where they can start to get to know us and like us and trust us. because trust begins with us making a good impression. And what I like to say is your LinkedIn profile is like a personal landing page. As my friend Mark Hunter says, our reputation arrives before us because people are researching us. And so the question is, what do they see? When they research us and they go look at our LinkedIn profile, what are they seeing? So imagine we were in a room together and I was doing this presentation and I said, hey, listen, everyone, thanks. I ran out of business cards. And so what I did is I just wrote these up real quick and decided to hand them out to all of you. Hope that's okay. What would you think of me? So this is just one I did for a presentation I was doing in Bermuda. But if you notice, it's written out. I've spelled account wrong, which some people spell wrong. But would you get a good first impression of me from this? Right? Or let's say I walk into the room dressed like this to do a LinkedIn for Humans seminar. First of all, I can tell you there's no way I have that much hair, and no way is it that red, and no way would my wife let me out of the room or out of the house with a onesie, especially a leopard printed onesie. But listen, if I was doing a seminar or webinar or a presentation on standing out, this might be good, but if I'm talking about being professional, making professional connections, you might raise your eyes and go, is this guy really serious? And why do I say that? Because how we show up is important. And now we just don't show up in person, but we show up when people look at our profiles and see what's going on. Because your profile is the foundation of everything you do on LinkedIn. So especially if you're in level 1 and level 2, if your clients and or your referral partners are on LinkedIn, it's going to be very important as you're going through the profile, going through the platform, looking at people's profiles. They're going to then get notified of that, and they're going to look at yours. So you have to understand that your profile is the foundation of everything that you do. It goes beyond a digital business card. As I said before, it's actually your landing page, but you have to realize that it's not about you. Nobody cares how great you are, how long you've been in business, um, until they get to know you more. Your profile becomes a chance for you to resonate with the right people and build and establish your credibility, which is the first step in establishing trust. Now, this is an old top section from me for my profile. Some things have changed, but I thought this is a good use. This is the top part of your profile. And notice that it's really stands out, right? That top section, we liken it to the front page of a newspaper, what they say used to call back in the newspaper days above the fold, the top half of the front page of the newspaper, because on the newsstand, that's what stood out to people, and they wanted the best stories and the best pictures to be there so that people want to pick the newspaper up and buy it. So that's how I want you to think of this section. We want to grab attention. And so really quickly, just to go through, the first thing is we want to go through is, sorry, my pointer's not working that well. This top rectangular banner image. That's important because it's like a billboard. If you think about a company was to come to you and say, hey, we're going to give you a free billboard that you don't have to pay for, and we're going to put it near the busiest intersection of highways in your area. My guess is, excuse me, my guess is you wouldn't just you wouldn't leave it blank. You wouldn't put a nice picture of scenery unless maybe you were a tourist, a, a tour guide, right? You want to brand your company. And so that's what we want you to look at this as. And now I haven't had a chance to update this yet, but if you have LinkedIn Premium, if you have LinkedIn Business or above, Business Premium or above, that banner actually now becomes a scrolling banner image. If you have you seen the new electric billboards that are out, and it's not just one image, but you see several. That's what this is like. It can have up to 5 images that scroll. So make sure that you're branding yourself. I also recommend that you put your email address on there. So the banner image is important. Next is your profile picture. Listen, have an up-to-date picture. Don't have a picture that's 8 years old. Make it professional. If you can get a headshot, do that. Get a headshot for sure. Next is name pronunciation. Many people don't know that if you go on the mobile app, you can add a recording of your name. You have 10 seconds. And listen, especially if you have a name that's hard to pronounce, that people mispronounce all the time, you should add that in there. The notification bell, you notice I have a little tagline on my banner image that says follow me and click to see my content. When you follow someone, that bell shows up and you can be notified when they're posting content. You want to point people to do that if you're level one and you're going to be creating content. Your headline. Most of the time people have, and that's the spot there right underneath your name. Most of the time people just have their job title and where they work. You want to use this as an area to create a little bit of curiosity with people. You want them to read more. So I have authentic relational intelligence. Well, what is that? That's kind of my answer to AI. Authentic relational intelligence is talking to people. It's actually doing intelligence and asking questions of actual people rather than asking a generative AI program something, right? So you want to point to people to with this to read to want to read more. You need to be connected to your LinkedIn company page. If you don't have a LinkedIn company page, your logo will not show up there, right there. What you're going to see is just it's just a pixelated image. So you have to have a company page to be connected to that, as well as your education. Make sure you're connected to any college that you went to and paid for courses for. And then lastly, you notice I have a visit my website button. Again, this is premium only, business premium and above. I'm not sure if career premium has it, but you can look into it. You can just Google that. And that follows you around, which is really great. So I have visit my website, but you can have book an appointment. You can have view my store. A few different things. So these are just a few things with this top part that are important to update and create a profile that stands out so that when people look at you and look you up, they're seeing a professional image. Really quickly, the next part is the about section. And this is where people really kind of go off the rails. And, some people just post their resume in here. And again, if you're looking for a job, that's great. But if you're in sales, if you're in business development, what you want to do is take people on a journey here. And so I've come up with 4 different areas that I think are really important. The first is to resonate. What are the challenges that your ideal clients face? Because you want them to read those first few paragraphs and say, yes, that's me. Yes, I can relate to this person. Yes, that this is important to me. Right? So you resonate with some challenges. Then you want to educate them. You want to teach them something that they don't know. Right? So that you've challenged them. They say, yes, this is me. And they're like, oh, wow, this gal or this guy really knows what they're talking about. I didn't know this. And then you can kind of pivot to talking about yourself. What differentiates you from everyone else out there? If you or your company has a value proposition, it's great to roll that out here. And then you want to end it with communicate, right? You want to put a quick call to action, something you want them to do. Call to action, not a call to sell. As mine says, if you're a sales and marketing leader, business owner, and or entrepreneur and want to talk more about how all selling is social, I invite you to a call. That's it. Let's talk, right? And then I end it with some information that's important for them to see, which is my email address and my phone number. Listen, now that's my personal cell phone number. I don't recommend you do that. If you have a business phone, that's great. You can put that there. I do get many spam calls because people pull this number from there. I'm okay with that. You might not be. But have your email address there. Anytime you're asking somebody to communicate with you, make sure that you give them a way to do that, right? And so this section, 2,600 characters with spaces, that's pretty substantive. I think this one's just over 2,000. You want to educate, don't pitch. You can tell some of your story, make yourself human, but make it about them and not about you. and have some type of call to action. As I said, give your contact information. Your experience section, just really quickly as we're kind of closing down here, this doesn't have to be a resume or your climb up the corporate ladder. And I didn't put an example in there because I realized it would be so different for everyone. But, list your offerings. If you're a life coach, for example, or a coach, a business coach, and you offer vision boarding and you offer small groups, small group web coaching, and then you offer one-on-one individual in-person stuff. List those all in your experience section separately so that when people look at your experience there, they see, oh wow, I thought that he or she did this, but wow, they do all of this also. It gives them a better, more fully rounded view of what you do. And just closing out, just a few other considerations, check your settings. Make sure everyone can see your picture. Many people have it set up for just their network, which means that if you and I aren't connected and I look at your profile, I don't think you have a profile picture. And it causes me to question whether this is a real profile or not, right? So make sure you check that. And right there, you can see on the right-hand side, if you go to the me icon and the drop down, right? And then right there, settings and privacy is right under account. And there's several different settings areas. I would check them all. Make sure your contact information is updated, your website's listed, other social media accounts, right? And connect with me on LinkedIn and make sure you ring my bell because I put video tutorials out all the time. You can also check out my YouTube channel at DigiSales, or just type in Bill McCormick to YouTube and you'll see my other videos. But listen, if you need some more help, if you're looking at this going, man, I'm just not sure, I'd like to know more. I offer a complimentary 30-minute insights call, and you can just go to that Calendly link there. And what we'll do in that call is we can look at your profile. We can talk about how you want to use LinkedIn. It's really simple to just figure out if you need more help or not. And what I found is there's basically a few different type of people. There's people that are go-getter. They're going to do it. They're going to, you're going to take this information, you're going to run with it, and you're going to do it yourself. But there's some people that need help. They don't have the time, or they just don't have the bandwidth to do everything. So I'm here to help you with that. But again, connect with me on LinkedIn, schedule a 30-minute call. Let's talk more about, as a small business owner and or solopreneur, whether you should be using LinkedIn and how I can help you do that more efficiently and effectively. Thanks for watching this video. And listen, I look forward to seeing you on LinkedIn.